Well, look who we have here, everybody. David Menkin. How are you, mate? Thank you for coming on the show.
I'm good, thank you. You've stayed up very, very late for me, I think.
It's only 11:30. This is when I start to thrive, Dave. Don't
Okay,
worry. Yeah,
okay, fine, fine. And yeah, but you are on the other side of the world, so if the Zoom gets delayed, we know why. So
exactly. Thank you for taking up some time today, mate. We really appreciate it. You over in London at the moment? How's the weather up there?
you know what? Everywhere else in Europe is roasting, and we are having the most typical British summer ever. It is overcast every single day. You have to take a sweater with you. You have to take an umbrella with you. If you're cycling, you got to cagoule it. It's ridiculous. I mean, supposedly my friends are roasting in the rest of Europe, so we're all gonna burn up soon anyway. But London is not. London is not burning.
I've heard you've got friends everywhere around the world, but do you have friends in Australia, David? I'm curious.
Yeah, I do have friends in Australia. I have because I went to an international school, so I've got friends all over the place. But my friend Alex Carlton, she's a writer in Australia. She's amazing. I know a really good friend of mine is a man by the name of Reuben Kay, who has caused the right in Australia to lose their fucking minds because he made a Jesus joke on primetime television.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, he's
I
he's
didn't
an
see
amazing.
that. I'll have to look it up.
Yeah, you can imagine he dresses in drag, sings, is a stand-up comedian, is acerbically funny, and doesn't let anyone get away with their shit. And you can imagine what happened when he decided to just let loose a little bit. So the whole won't someone think of the children crowd came about. So yeah. But anyway, who cares about them? Well, they do. They care a lot about them. So we don't have to worry about them. And I got friends in New Zealand as well, and I've worked for What a Workshop on a show called Thunderbirds Are Go, based on the old Thunderbird series. So yeah, I'm hoping to get over there at some point to your part of the world.
Yeah, we need to get you over for a con or something.
Yeah, make it happen, con people.
Hey, is it true you lived in Africa as well for a bit of time there?
Yeah, as a kid, my dad worked in oil. So, but he worked for Norwegian Oil, and so he's an American. But yeah, he worked for Norwegian Oil, and we ended up getting sent to Benin in West Africa when I was a little kid, and we sort of had a little Norwegian community there until money started disappearing and corruption happened, and we had to leave the country in haste and things like that. But I was a young kid, and it had an amazing impression on me, and I still remember stuff from being like 4 years old. So pretty amazing.
Really? Just interactions with
Yeah.
the people there or the landscapes or what?
I remember I guess because I had such vivid experiences
Mm,
um as a young kid, I have really, really clear memories of being a very, very young kid, and I realized that not a lot of people have that. So,
not
so yeah,
me.
I remember, yeah, I remember conversations, I remember experiences. Yeah, it was nuts. I had malaria twice down there. Um, yeah, it was. I remember what that was like, even. So, yeah.
And your dad was from New Jersey, mum from Norway?
Yeah, mother's Norwegian, and she my and I have a brother and a sister, and they moved back to Norway as well. My mother's there, so or my mother was there, so yeah, so I still have a connection to Norway. But London has sort of become my home because when I was 10 years old, we moved to just outside London, and I went to an American international school, and that's where I met sort of loads and loads of people from every single corner of the earth. I was very lucky to be sort of introduced to all these different cultures.
Is the term
So
third culture kid Is that how you've coined it? I heard you
Oh
call.
man, yes,
Yes.
yes. It's I have not coined that phrase.
No.
It
Yeah.
is something. Yeah, so they call us either third culture kids or cross cultural kids, and it's based on a study that was made, I think, of because they saw that American army brats um, were exhibiting the same kind of strengths and weaknesses, and they couldn't understand why that was the case because they were very, very different, but they all sort of had these situations. And third culture kids, they're taken out of their original culture and they're put into another where they are not at home, but they're there and they put themselves into it, and then they lose contact with their original culture, and they learn very, very quickly how to adapt. So someone once said to me that it's like you could they could put you in an embassy or in a favela, and you'd find people to get along with. You'd get chatting to everybody, and I think that's something that I was taught. You had to make friends in order to survive. You have to adapt. I kind of get in trouble these days because I find myself code switching a little bit, which is my accent will kind of change depending on who I'm with, because I think the issue is that third culture kids want to be accepted, and so we find ourselves sort of talking like the people that we're with, and they can at times take offense because they think that we're making fun of their culture. No, 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 no. All we're doing is it's just pure self-preservation and a wish to learn as much as possible about them so that we can see if we have any kind of connections.
Did you feel accepted growing up?
Oh man, to a certain extent, yes. But I was very, very, I think they call them overly emotional now, or emo. I was a kid who had a lot of feelings when I was young. I would feel whatever was going on in the room. If somebody was being yelled at, I would cry, even if I wasn't being yelled at, and then I'd get yelled at for crying, that kind of stuff.
Mm.
And I was what alpha males would call a sissy, and that made me a target. But I, I did certain things in order to fit in, and you learn very, very quickly that that's the only way that you're going to survive. But I was always a weirdo. I was, but as I got older, people they started accepting me, and I actually sort of liking my weirdness and the fact that I was just slightly different. But then I went into an industry where they're like, can you try to be as beige as possible in your day-to-day life so that you can then become anything else? So that's how I've like suddenly ended up like looking like the patriarchy. Um, I am, I just look like, an American dude. Um, and I just don't act like it. That's the only problem. But I
When
play them. I play them on TV, and I play
well,
them. I play them in games. Yeah.
I already know you're a phenomenal actor because you play a lot of assholes, and you're definitely not an asshole. Just by speaking with you for
No,
5
I'm such a lovely guy, Dan, and I just get
minutes.
to play.
When did you come into your own, do you think? Like, when did you feel like this is me, you know?
I think I probably was in my early 20s, and
Mm.
I'd finished sort of my theater school training, and I started working for a TV station, working and doing their continuity work, and I started finding that I had this capacity for doing voiceovers, and I just sort of fell in love with this. Was because I'm old ish, 46. This was at a time when the internet didn't have webinars. We didn't have master classes. We didn't have, 10 steps to become a dot, dot, dot. So I had to sit there and listen to and watch the people who I thought were doing a good job and try to figure out what they were doing. And
Mm.
and I I sort
Who
of
did you
started to
look to?
crack the
Who did you look to who as inspirations?
Well, to give you an idea, like I remember hounding Stephen Fry's voice agent because I thought that he was so good at what he did with his voice. Um, he's phenomenal in front of a microphone, and I got with his voice agent
Wow.
because I was just like, yeah, because I was sort of getting in touch with the smaller agencies around town, and they just weren't, they were like, who the fuck are you? And I went for it. And I was like, this is the agent I'm getting in with. And I made my own demo, and I put it on a mini disc.
Wow.
Uh,
You are old.
yep.
No.
Yeah. And I was like unsure. I was unsure if they had a mini disc player, so I sent my own mini disc player with it.
That's fantastic.
And yeah, and they brought me in for an interview, and they were like, "What are you?" And they said, "We can't promise anything, but we can try it out for a little bit." And then the next morning, I got a call, and I did a commercial for the Ministry of Sound's California sessions, and that was my first job for them. But then at the same time, an office that I was working in, we shared a lift with Fox Kids. And they were starting up their Scandinavian section, and I got chatting to some people there, and they're like, "Hey, can you help us? Can you help us with this?" And I was like, "Yeah, I love cartoons. I've always wanted to get into that." So I launched their Scandinavian division, and bit by bit, sort of started talking to my agents about, like, I kind of want to do animation. And they're like, "Well, then you need to get a demo done." And I was like, "Well, who's the best guy for it?" And it was this guy called Dave Peacock, who is still probably one of the best performance directors out there. I hounded him until it took me 3 months to get him, wind him down. And he made my demo for me. And then I got Bob the Builder. I was Scoop and Bob the Builder. And then I got Thomas and Friends. And at the same time, I was helping a friend of mine who's a casting director, and I was helping her with a games casting. And I was like, "All right, I'll come in and help you with this." And I was leading all these people in. Some people I knew, some people I didn't. And at the end of the day, she was like, "Oh, go in and just give it a try." And I did. And then the next week, I got the role of Preston Marlowe in Battlefield Bad Company.
What a great set of games. 1 and 2. Bad Company. They hold up. I reckon they hold up.
They hold up.
Yeah.
EA, DICE, you've pulled the game. That is a mistake.
Really?
It is a mistake.
Damn.
They just did it this year.
Oh, sucks.
It's so bad because these games hold up. And I'm hoping that what they're going to do is that they're just going to
remaster or something, hopefully. Yeah.
Remaster it, bring it back out. Because it is that good. It was a buddy movie made into a war game, and we had such a good time. We did it as an ensemble recording, which is unusual even to this day. It's starting to come back now, but yeah, that was a way to get into this industry.
Were you nervous getting into that? Because how long ago was that? That was like 2007, right? That was when things were really starting to pipe up.
I think we started. Yeah, I think we started 2008 to record.
Yeah.
I wasn't nervous because I didn't know what the fuck I was doing.
You didn't know about the gaming world, did you either? You weren't.
No. I mean, I played some games, but to give you an idea, I played games when we still had, floppy disks and CD-ROMs, and you'd get a pack of different CD-ROMs that you had to put in order and all that kind of stuff. That's kind of stuff I got to play at my friend's house because my mom, she thought that games would rot my brain. So I was not allowed.
Look at you now, mate. Finishing Ghost of Tsushima 100% at 46 years old. Sorry, Mum.
Man, lockdown But it was my brother. My brother was the one
Uh,
who he was like, "So what are you going to do with yourself now?" And he's like, "You know, your setup's pretty good and stuff, and for recording at home." And I was like, "Well, I don't know. I was thinking maybe I should get a real home studio, and maybe I should get myself a PlayStation 5, PS5." And he went, "Just get both. Just do it." And I did. And I have not looked back.
How do you, when you get that PS5, how do you initially choose what games? Because I know you're a part of BAFTA, like, what do you call that? You're a part of the selection committee. Is that
I'm
the
so I'm part. So I was part of the actual jury for BAFTA
jury?
Games
Yeah,
last, but I'm a voting member,
voting
and
member.
I have
Yeah.
been, yeah, I have been since lockdown.
So does that
Yeah.
dictate the games you buy at that time, or did you just go, I'll ask some friends?
All I did was ask people. Yeah.
Mm.
So it started with it. So we were out. We weren't in the voting section of the year, and to tell you the truth, that for the most part, you get free copies of the games when you're just looking at them, and that's when you're at Steam, for example, and mobile. We get keys to play those games, and it only for the AAA's you only really get the keys for the game if they're shortlisted or long. I think
Yeah.
shortlisted. I think.
Yeah.
So what I did was I mean, the thing is that I go in to studios all the time, and I work with game devs, and I work with sound engineers that only deal with games, and I work for these companies, and all I did was just pump them for info, and just was like, what do I start with? What do I start with? Do I start with Cyberpunk? Do I start with and my friend Jane Perry, she was in Returnal. And I was like, do I start with Returnal? And they were like, absolutely not. Do not start with that game, because you will throw your console out the window. And somebody said to me, like, what are you looking for? And I was like, I want to feel like I'm in a movie. I want to feel like I am experiencing something epic. And they just said Ghost of Tsushima.
Right.
And was uh, it it blew my mind. And it just kept on getting better. And I you have to make certain choices in that game, and at one point I was sobbing over a horse, and
Me
then
too,
it was
man. That
ridiculous.
was devastating. And then I had to rename another horse. I couldn't do it. It's
I know. And every so often I'll go back and I'll be playing just open world, and my stupid new horse, who I have no emotional attachment to, I make her run everywhere now. Like,
yeah.
yeah.
So you played Ghost and you loved that. That changed your outlook a little bit on gaming.
Yeah, because so here's the thing. I mean, I thought that you sort of have to make time for games in order, you need to still have time out for yourself, and then you need to create time for gaming. And because it's going to tax you, is what I felt. And what I realized was that games, they give me something that I didn't know I needed. There is a detachment from my day that happens when I'm gaming that I was completely shocked by. Where, first of all, suddenly it's 3-4 a.m. and
Yeah.
birds are chirping, and you're like, oh shit, I'm up in 3 hours. Um,
Right.
and there's that, but there's also this feeling of like sometimes I need to jump from a cliff and katana the crap out of someone, um because someone cut me off today.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
instead of having road rage, I now just take it out on the Mongols. So yeah, it's changed. It's completely changed things for me. I love it, and I am, and now I've started this thing, and I'm shit. So I'm on, I'm 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 on. I got my little bingo wings and my little kick kick wheels, so that I can get through this game
As in,
while
you got the
Ben
cheats
Starr.
on. You got the little cheats on. Yeah.
I've got I'm on full story mode, while Ben Starr is like, yeah, I'm going for plat. Fuck off, Ben.
That bastard. Yeah. So, well, tell us about Final Fantasy, because I know you were in 14, a little role in that one. Is that how they got you for this one? They thought, well, this guy's pretty talented. We might use him a few games later.
I think so. What it is that I I don't know. I have been lucky to have played some iconic characters through the years, and in a lot of ways, I don't think that it's because they've gone like, oh, it's David Menkin, we need to get him in. It's there's been a definite bit of luck, but there's also been the fact that I work with people who then bring me to the attention of the people that make decisions. So I'm very thankful to companies like Side and Liquid Violet, who are these companies that record and edit game audio in London, and because of that, I got 14 and I played Magnus in a side quest, and I made people cry while drunk, and I wasn't literally drunk, but yeah.
That's what you tell people. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But that was my first time working with Square Enix, and
Yeah, right.
and I had just finished on that, and then they said, "Hey, the team at Square Enix would like you to read for something." So they brought me in, and they were so cagey about stuff, and or Koji, sorry, Square Enix fans. They brought me in, and they were just like, yeah, and you have this, yeah, you've got your Norwegian roots, right? Because you did that in 14. And I was like, yeah. Can you do something? And but can you make them make them be a villain, but not in the way that you would think a villain is usually played. So I was like, well, I'll do what I feel is right for a villain, which is to make it a really small performance, because I always find that the most effective villains, look at Die Hard, look at all these movies that you've seen through the years. It's the ones that walk softly and don't even carry a big stick. They have massive guys behind them who have sticks. They're the interesting ones. So I sort of just went from that perspective. And I got the job the day that I was announced for 14. And
Wow.
I posted about 14. They hadn't told me about 16 yet. They didn't even, I hadn't even been told that it was 16. So Square Enix and Side, the company that I was working for, freaked out because they thought that I was breaking my NDA. And because they're XIV and XVI look pretty.
Yeah.
So I had this panicked phone call from my agent, and I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. What do you mean? What have I done? It's in the public domain. There's it's a tweet that says that I'm in it. So and then they were like, oh yes, by the way, you have a job, and here is a link to a massive PDF document, and here is a code name for the game, and you're going to be working with a British team, but it is a Japanese production. And as time went on, I realized that what I was working on was a new Final Fantasy.
And when you find that out,
and
then what happens in your
yeah,
mind? Does the mind start to tick over a little bit? You think, oh, here we go.
Yes, because I realized that I was part of something very, very big. Later, as I've spoken to Ben had, a full-on crisis right after he, popped the champagne or whatever he did. He then had a full crisis because he realized the world was just on his shoulders. And I just was like, yeah, big game. If they don't like me, they'll fire me. It's fine.
You're up for the
And
challenge. Yeah, you're excited.
yeah, while Ben was going, if they don't like me, they'll fire me. So in a much cooler with a much cooler voice and better cheekbones. But yeah, and then of course I didn't get to work with anyone else at the time. Uh, Ben was working with a few of his co-actors, but my section of the game, of course, came much later. So I was working by myself, and it was only until Ben and I started at tail end of COVID, as I was walking away from the studio, he would always be walking to the studio, and we'd be like, how you doing? Yeah. And eventually we twigged.
Did you say, I recognize that voice? A little bit.
Yes. He says, Ben definitely made it clear. He was like, David, you're you're definitely out to get me, aren't you? And I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah, right. And is that challenging for you, or is it, not being able to play off someone and others are? You get a bit jealous of that, or do you take on the challenge? Because it does help, doesn't it, if you have someone there for the having a bit of chemistry and to bounce off someone.
Yeah, I mean, for 16, we were so lucky. I had an amazing performance director called Hannah Price. I had Morgan and Ollie from a company called Schlock, and they were the ones who pretty much were responsible for all the English dialogue, which of course became the originating dialogue for the game. So they were working with the Japanese team, but we came first for the first time in any Final Fantasy game. So I had all these people, and they were, they knew how this massive tree looked, and they would sort of place me on the branch that I was supposed to be on, and then they would interact with me, and that was great. And then every so often, Ben would have done his lines for that scene first, or Nina, for example, and then they would play the corresponding lines with mine, so that I could play opposite someone. But my job in a game anyway is to create the world in my head. So I have certain questions that I always ask. It's these like who, what, where, when, and why. So like, who am I? When is this? What am I doing? Why am I doing it? And do I have a specific reason for being in the emotional state that I'm in? And then I also, ask the questions like, hey, so am I affected? Am I inside? Am I outside? Am I affected by the weather? Am I affected by distance? Am I the kind of person that has to yell across a canyon so the other person can hear me? Or am I the kind of or am I playing the kind of person where it doesn't matter how far I am, my voice is going to be ringing inside your head? And for 16, for example, it was very clear that no matter where I was in relation to these people, I did not have to stretch in any way.
Yeah,
I could just talk like this.
But there was the moment in the boss fight. You haven't played it all, have you? But you've seen it.
I know.
Yeah,
I'm not there yet, but I've definitely watched it because I'm a narcissist.
You can hear the desperation in the voice come out. Was that something you were directed, or did you do that?
This was something that we agreed on. This is something that are we spoiler free here? We're going
to do spoilers. So guys, if you haven't beaten the game, come back later. We're going to get into a bit of spoilers here. So just a warning for everyone, and go for it, Dave.
So this is someone who has been fully faithful and fully driven in his purpose as to what he is there to do. It has been made clear to him that he is the most powerful, but his job is to prepare someone to be even more powerful than him, so that they can be the vessel for God, as far as he's concerned. And he gets to a point in his boss fight where he hasn't had anything be awakened in him of his own human need for winning, for living, for wanting, until he realizes that he has an opponent. He has a worthy opponent, finally. And because of that, everything just explodes out of him. And he is
What, is he elated? Is he sort of?
Yes.
Right. Okay.
Because he finally, imagine how boring life would be if you never met your match, if you never had an opportunity to be bested.
There's an anime about
and
this
what
called One Punch Man, by the way, where he's got no he just beats everyone with one punch. But go on, sorry, continue.
Okay, I'm writing this down later. But yeah, it's, when you're in that kind of situation, what do you care? Do you care? I mean, clearly you saw how he was with Benedicta in bed. He didn't seem exactly thrilled and overly turned on. There she was, trying to awaken his passions. And then you see him in a scene where he is the only thing that awakens any kind of humanity in him is the sight of his mother. And it's a scene that's freaking people out. But I don't think they quite understand it, because they see it as something sexual. But what Ultima is doing is Ultima is giving him a gift for saying and doing the right things. Please, your opinion. Sorry.
Because he had the childhood trauma of seeing his mother killed, right?
Well, yes. I mean, I'm going to be very careful here, because if I say something, it'll go lore.
Canon. Yeah. So let's.
Yes.
Yeah, I understand.
So what I will say to that is I'll temper my answer by saying that the only thing that mattered to him was his mother.
Yeah.
And you can imagine how long it is since he has seen her, and how long it is since she's the only other being that has shaped him. It is her, and it's Ultima.
Yeah.
So therefore, and that is the thing. He looks up when he's, massive spoiler, when he died.
Yeah.
You think he is looking up at his master, but it's not. The arms are his mother, and he finally gets to go to her. And that was my choice. Once again, I might be speaking out of turn, but we spent time on it, and we wondered and tried out for me to say "mamma," as in the Norwegian for mum.
Wow.
Yeah. But I completely understand why they didn't choose it, because of course Norwegian is not necessarily the language. It is we are basing it in a Scandinavian, place. But I sort of put forward, I was like, I wanted for him to completely go back to the child. And that was my plan with how it's said. It is joy. It is not your typical bad boss dying. It is freedom and returning home, as far as I'm concerned. That may not be Square Enix's way of looking at it, but that is how I felt it when I played it.
So is that how you felt when you watched it for the first time once the game was out? Like, did you get emotional at all when you watched it? Because it is quite. I felt sorry for him at that point. You know.
Yeah, he is. You know, there are a lot of questions about, you know, is he Akashic? Is, you know, what is there? And I can't answer that, because that is not my job to answer. My job was to go in there, find something in him that I can also find in myself. And that is a need I have as a human being. I have a need to be understood. I have a need to be respected in some way. And I need people to understand my point of view. And that was where I came from with Barnabas. I wanted him to be someone who was extremely principled. And as far as he's concerned, he's not the bad guy, but he is there. He is toying with Clive. He is there because, as far as he's concerned, this guy is nowhere close to being who he is. So it is his job to make him ready and to make him understand. And I was like, yeah, I can play that. I can totally play that. And that was when I watched it back, I went, yeah, I did my job. Did it
make you feel anything, or are you sort of away from it because it's too close to you?
It was gratifying to see that what I did, I felt came across. But when I sit and I watch my work, I'm not the type of person who then goes like, that was amazing, I did so good.
You're looking at your critical eye.
I have a very critical eye. I have and I also have this feeling that you know, I'm watching a story and then I come in and I ruin it because it's me. You know, so I'm like, oh, there I am again. All right, talking about stuff.
Don't worry about that. That is not true.
Yeah, but it's you know, I don't ever get sort of emotional watching.
I get it.
I'm good, but I do get, but I have been emotional watching what my fellow actors have been doing. So I understand the effect the game has had and the storytelling has had on people, because boy oh boy do people have opinions.
They do, don't they? I love the scene where Clive and Barnabas meet, and that epic fucking soundtrack with the electric guitar, man. I've been listening to that for weeks. It is so cool. You gotta. I love that scene.
Everybody at some point in their lives should have an opportunity to do something while being underscored by an electric
guitar. Yeah. 100%.
And some Japanese dude, bass baritone, just singing the shit out of something. And the music is amazing. And that, once again, that makes me, this is the thing that I sort of wanted to say. My job was like a tiny slice. There was also a motion capture team, some amazing motion capture actors who came in and did stuff. So I did facial capture, and voice of course. But then there was an entire team that went out and gave the movements to all of these characters. Then it's, the musicians, the narrative team, you've seen how many other companies Square Enix had to work with in order to get everything to come together.
It's unbelievable. Yeah.
It's huge. It's massive.
Mm.
And I am so happy that I didn't get intimidated by it, because I think that if I was playing this role in a film, I think that the gravity of it would be slightly overwhelming. I'm kind of glad that I was a little bit naive to it.
But that won't happen in the future with a role. If you get a role in another big property, do you think you'll be prepared for that?
I mean, when it comes to games, I've been playing lead characters for a long time now, but it's just the biggies are becoming so big. Games are outpacing film and TV 2-1.
Oh yeah.
So games are where the ideas are coming from, where the narrative teams are born, where people collaborate and they create something that is so much bigger and a lot of times better, because they don't have to tell a story in the space of 2 hours and 10 minutes or in the space of 6 times 1 hour or whatever it is. This is 180 hours of content, 200 hours of content. I am so lucky that I am in the industry that I'm in, because I am getting to meet so many people who are so freaking talented, and they don't have any ego about it. I also work in film and TV, and I meet talented people who have a massive ego and a huge chip on their shoulder. But for some reason, games, and in a lot of ways animation as well, it's sort of where I like to be. And it's also the arena that I get to play in, even though I'm not a celebrity. People are starting to recognize my name in games, but
and you're
but
not
I'm
hamstrung by
I'm,
one character either, or one archetype.
exactly.
Yeah.
And I don't listen, I'm a man with a massive, some say no neck whatsoever. When I'm on screen, I usually play the CIA guy, the Norwegian guy, the teacher, it's the assholes are starting to slip in there. I am sort of your stereotypical blonde white guy asshole, but in games, I get to play assholes with dark hair.
With big swords, yeah, and turn into
With big
Odin.
swords and cod pieces and yes. So yeah,
do you think they chose to do mocap with other actors because of all the stunts and everything? Was that the main reason, do you feel?
I can't answer fully to why they did that, but there was a lot of time pressure under this. So I know that they were recording voice and doing mocap at the same time, and that was happening in 2 different countries. So therefore, they couldn't bring us together. I mean, Ben could have played Clive in every single way possible, as far as I'm concerned. The amazing guy who did the body work for Barnabas, he's not a rakish slip of a thing. He's a big old beefy Scotsman who's awesome. So it I mean, look him up on IMDb. You'll see he's a great actor in his own right. But it's also the fact that they brought a mocap team in. So they You hire a mocap team and they hire the people that they know can do the work, instead of bringing in the voice actors and going, have you ever done mocap before? And then also what happens is that then it turns into something called performance capture, which is a whole different thing. So performance capture is where you are doing the scenes together and you are creating the world there and then. But they didn't have the opportunity to bring us all together. They, we also had lockdown. Everything was working against us. So I don't know what the exact reasons are why we weren't brought in to do it, but I think that it was really just logistics. I don't think it was possible for them to do to bring that. And what are they going to do with like certain people who they're not 7'2"? So what are you going to do? You're going to get an actor and be like, you're going to be on stilts. You get to be on stilts.
I know. I spoke to the
things.
guys in God of War. They said that there's like a stick behind them, and they got to look up. I think that's how they do it. So the eye line. So you're not looking at their eyes, but I was only curious because I was speaking to Alex, who plays Hugo, and he said that the movements for Hugo, he would have done something different. He spoke quite candidly. He said, I probably would have done something a little bit different, but I had to work with what I was given and mold the character, with those physical movements. So I'm wondering if you had a similar experience, or because I really like the way he moves. It's, and especially that scene where just before the boss fight, the ocean's around, he's sort of slowly moving in with your. It's just so epic. So
it is, and there are certain things where I was lucky that I got to sort of say that there are certain things that I will want to do with my character, and if the mocap doesn't work, we're going to have an issue. So therefore, there was some mocap that was. I'm not saying that I was being a diva. I was just saying,
really,
there's certain things. There's certain things that I want to be able to do with my voice, and that might be different to the pacing of how you've asked your mocap actors to do things. But we worked it out. That's the thing. My job is to fix your problem. So for the most part, it is my job to go in there and go, okay, I wouldn't have quite done it like that, but I'll do this and I'll make it sort of work with me. But I also said to them, I was like, there are certain things that if you ask me to do it and I don't feel it's right for the character, I will come back to you and say, I don't think that's right for the character.
Are you able to touch on those, or is that too far in the weeds?
I mean, yeah, it wasn't a big deal, but I
know.
I think because it wasn't a big deal in the room, but what I was saying, what I say to people is that when we've been working for a certain amount of time on the voice, and then they start the motion capture process, I don't feel that it's right that I should then change my performance because then the people animating it, and then later when the people are playing it, they'll be like, why is there a shift in this character? So what I said to them was, I have been doing certain things vocally with certain beats and so on, that if your mocap if the mocap performance that you then create doesn't work, I can easily fit myself into that, but I need you to look at like, well, does it fit what I've done previously? That's what I mean. Because by that point, they're thinking of everything. Once again, they're thinking of the whole massive tree, if you think about it, massive oak. And my thing is the little branch that's over there. And I go, yeah, but I know this branch really, really well now. I know what I'm talking about. So my job, and this is how I feel about working in this industry. My job is to come in and fix your problem. And I come in there and I fix it really, really well, But sometimes my job is also to let you know that I need to say this to you so that we don't have a new problem later on. Am I making sense?
And they respect that, don't
Like,
they? They like that.
yeah, if I'm coming in for a day to work on something and I'm on
Yeah, I know. Yeah. If you're
see I'm
additional
not playable
voices,
character.
yeah. You're not
Yeah,
gonna
yeah. Shut the hell up and do your job, you know?
yeah.
But if
But
I've
when
been
you're
working
a
on this
pivotal character, yeah, 100%.
and I've been working on it for a year to 2 years, and I come in there and I see and they're like, yeah, we've got the mocap team now, and they're doing this and this and this, and I'm like, okay, just want to raise something, and it's not me being an asshole, it's me trying to think, shit, have you guys thought about this? And to tell you the truth, everybody at Square Enix and everybody at Schlock, they think of everything anyway. So I probably came across as an asshole, but it is my job to be like, hey, have you thought about this? That's what I'm
Well, it
there to
also
do.
shows that
It's
you
a
care. You actually care a
yeah,
lot. Yeah.
yeah. I'm not gonna. I, I don't understand people who just go and get their paycheck and leave. This is people don't talk about my side of things like this anymore, and people are going to be like, wanker, but it's an art form. What we do is art. It is a consumable art. It is something that is made for a large chunk of the gaming community, and they know what they're doing. But my job is to make you feel something, and is to make you want to do something, want to keep playing, want to keep engaging. That's my job. And as far as I'm concerned, acting is an art, and that's what I want to do. I want to keep doing it like that. I'm not there just to earn money or to become famous or something. I love this job. I don't know what the hell else I would do. So I'm going to get off the soapbox in a second, but um, I I really love my job, and I love making people feel things. Yeah, it's important too.
What moment of Barnabas were you most proud of looking back?
Most people would think that my favorite moment is the boss fight where
Yeah.
where Barnabas just loses control and gets to fill the entire space with everything he is, and he gets to scream, shout, rail, and gig laugh, scream, and of course that's fun. That is fun. But the moment that I'm most proud of is much earlier in the game, where he's talking to a second in command, and it's the usual, this is what's going on, people don't understand, our job is to educate, and that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. I'm paraphrasing. But then you see him catch something in his hand, and you realize that what he's catching is the remnants of the dead and dying mother crystal. And there is this awe to his experience and sadness, really. And I feel that what I tried to get across there was a little bit of the humanity that is hidden deep, deep, deep down in the depths of Barnabas. And Square Enix managed to make it come across. So I'm really proud of it, but not necessarily just because of my performance, because I don't remember how it was written.
Right.
And I'm hoping that my contribution there had something to do with it. But I just felt that it was just such a magical moment. And I was like, see, this is why we do this shit.
Have you ever felt that before in another scene that you've worked on? that sort of magical moment?
I feel it in every single thing, especially when I get to play a fully rounded character, which, truth be told, doesn't always happen.
Yeah.
But um, but yeah, I try to find it for myself. I just, what I want to do is kind of be truthful, but also test the limits of truth. Because I think that if I'm just screaming and wailing for the sake of it, I'm really good at yelling. I'm really good at yelling and screaming. That's something I get hired to do a lot. But I think people sometimes think that I just do it because like that's what I'm like, that's what I'm there to do. No, I want there to be a reason why I'm doing it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to give you I'm not going to give you the full pipes and stuff like that if unless there's a reason for it.
Mm. And if
So,
there's
for
no
example,
reason, it becomes generic villain number 3 sort of thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I played a character called Malos in Xenoblade Chronicles 2, and for some reason, people
A lot
just
of swearing,
love
wasn't it?
first first Nintendo game. I was the first Nintendo character to have a fully fledged swear
Yeah,
because I
right.
say "you little shit." Yeah, and uh, and
Did that have to go
that
through
was
any sort of regulation or something to get that through? Or
most likely, but that is
yeah,
so way beyond my pay grade.
I know.
Um, but and this is a, I also love, not as much as you clearly, but I love sort of Japanese animation and manga, and I love the fact that they're not afraid of someone being able to go through all every single emotion in their personality within the space of one sentence. And if I have a reason to do it, then I'm more than happy to do it. And a character like Malos gave me that. I was like, yes,
Yeah.
yes, because when do you get to play a character where they know that they are the bad guy and they revel in it? Well, I got to play that, but I also got to play a character at the very end of that game who found out that it may not have necessarily been him. It may not be his choice to be evil. And I was like, yeah, see, this is why we play this shit. This is why this character's been created. Wait, so you're saying that if I had someone else as my blade, then I as a character could have been different. What does that do to me? Well, yeah, it makes you go nuts and try to take out the world.
Have you ever broke down in the booth, as in like really emotional crying? Have you ever gotten to that point where you're just an emotional wreck?
No, and I'll tell you why. My job as in a game is to be able to be in the emotional state while also making sure that I am the correct distance away from the microphone, that I'm not saying my P's, T's, and D's straight into the microphone so that it'll pop. I am making sure that I'm taking on the director's notes from just before I started the take. My job is, it's not there for me. If I get lost, if I lose myself, how will I get back to do it again? Because most people think of this process as being you go in and you do it and then you're done. No, you go in, you talk about it, you do it, you they say, well, actually, you missed the important words in this section. It's that and that and that. Okay. try that. But also, I have to make sure that I am entering the scene from the right moment of at the emotional level that I had the previous scene in, for example, or whatever happened. And I also have to make sure that I finish this at a place that is correct for the story. So no matter if I want to lose myself in the moment, that's not my job. My job is there to do what you need me to do. So I think of it like in a way as like people don't have control over that sort of the emotional flow. When it starts streaming, it's like, and you're lost. You're there. You're in your emotions. And as an actor, my job is to be able to like regulate it, if it makes sense. And that's why you won't see me lose it. Same thing with someone doing a crying scene. Someone doing a crying scene, if your aim is to cry, that's very difficult. But if you also lose yourself in the moment of the crying, how do you reset? What happens when they go, okay, let's go back to zero? Because nobody cares. Everybody's waiting for lunch anyway. You need to then be able to like bring it back, dial it all the way back to wherever the dial was at the beginning of the scene with the help of your performance director. And then you start again. And then maybe you go a little bit further and you stop and you reset. If I was to start howling about the loss of somebody in my life, you get one take out of me, but I may have said something wrong or in the wrong way or in the wrong order. Well, then it's unusable.
What if, just to play devil's advocate, what if the director was to say, this is the last take, try something?
Okay, what day of the week is it?
Yeah, you got me. Yeah. Well, let's
Is it a
say
Monday?
let's say it's a
Monday?
Friday night.
Do I have to be a toy train tomorrow morning?
Let's say if it's Friday afternoon, yeah?
Is it a Friday and it's 5:30 p.m. and there is a cold glass of cider, pint of cider waiting for me?
There is.
Yeah. I will give you whatever the fuck you want. Dan, I will be a blubbering mess. You will see the snot. You will
So
I
you
will
can
break
get there.
the microphone.
You feel you can get to those levels?
I
if you had to. Because you
I
said that
have to,
you cried.
yes.
You said you cried a lot as a kid. That's why I asked the question. Because if
yeah, so there were years when because in order to be a fully functioning member of society, I had to get control over that tap because I can't be there and have a child's tantrum at the age of 31 or whatever.
Yeah.
So yes, to answer your question, I am talking this through with my therapist and we're finding healthy ways for me to find everything in my repertoire. But yes, I am somebody who my friends think that I in some ways have a lot of control over who I am as a human being, and that is because I had to learn to control myself. That's so you're spot on. You're absolutely right there. But it has stood me in good stead when it comes to my work. Yeah.
Is there anything you wanted to say to the Final Fantasy fans that have tuned in today?
Man, I just want to say thank you. This has been the most amazing, ridiculous experience. It's something I haven't really talked about, but the week before I went to LA to do the pre-launch celebrations and everything like that, I'd lost my mother, and
So sorry, man.
Oh, thank you. And it was very raw, and I still wanted to come out. So I turned up, and the first person who came up to me was Ben, and he took me aside and he was like, "I'm checking in on you," and he said, "I just want you to let you know that I lost my dad while we were recording." And I said, "Well,
Wow.
I had no idea." And he said that he, used it um, to a certain extent in his storytelling, and that is why that man is going to be winning. That's not just the one reason, but there are a myriad of reasons why that man is going to be winning a lot of awards. And he and Nina and other people just were like, "You just let us know if you need anything, if you need to get out." And I was fully ready to ask for that, and they were like, "David, this is the green room. You need to bail out. You just go." But what was amazing was that I was able to focus on these amazing people who have such a love for I call it a franchise, but for just an amazing collection of games, and how excited they were about getting to dive into something new, yet familiar. And it sort of saved me, because I was able to be just enveloped in joy and excitement, and the birth of something. And right after having the death of something in my life, it was just the perfect foil to it, because everybody was so excited. And also, I wasn't able to say anything about Barnabas at the time. That's why you're still seeing interviews and spots being released where I'm like, "Hi, my name's David Menkin. I'm playing Barnabas. I can't tell you anything," because I was under embargo, just in case something was leaked. And it just became a running joke with the fans and with the influencers and with the press. And what I said at that point was that I'm so happy that we are at the end of a process that is about us, and now it's about the gamer. And what's happened is that sort of the gamers haven't allowed that to happen. They're still letting us know how much our work affected them. And that's extremely gratifying. It is so wonderful, not just for the ego, but it's just the fact that these people have taken time out to let us know what and why we have made their last month something special, is extremely gratifying. I'm so lucky to do what I do, and I know that. I know. So and to be reminded of that every day, on Twitter, on Instagram, via my agents, on Cameo. Yeah, I'm so lucky.
Thank you for sharing that, man. That's very special. Um, and thank you for sharing many stories today. I've got so many more questions for you, but I'll save them. We'll have to do this again at some point, Dave,
Yeah.
if you'll come back. But again, thank you
Yeah.
so much for your time, man. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate it too.
Um, before I let you go, can Barnabas say anything to Dan in a bit more? Is that possible? A bit of a lighthearted.
Kneel before Barnabas Tharmr. I see you are in your chair. That is not low enough.
Thanks, Dave.
I'll try something else. Hold on. Let me find something else. Right.
Man, I love that voice.
Yes, the kingdom of Walud is not big enough for the Warden of Ash. Maybe I'll try Australia.
Oh, he had some great dialogue. You had some great dialogue, didn't you, man?
I really did. Yeah. See, as you can tell, I'm not the one who wrote this stuff.
No.
But yes, he's show me the strength of your will. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So many great lines. Yeah.
But yeah, are you so are you going for plat?
I'm nearly there. I've got one trophy left.
Shit.
One trophy left.
So this is your second playthrough, and you've got one trophy left.
On the hardest difficulty. That's it. And I've got it.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
What about yourself? How far through are you?
Let's just I'm not very I'm fighting
close to
dragoons.
plat. Come on.
I'm fighting dragoons. Okay. I am not doing well, and I am by the way, I got to hang out with Charlotte McBurney and Ben Starr yesterday. Charlotte is young Jill and is also Amicia in A Plague's Tale.
Incredible actor.
So I don't know if you isn't she great? Yeah.
You need to convince both of them to come on this show, would you, Dave?
I'll see what I can do. Exactly. Well,
no, it's all good. It's all good. No, thank you, Dave. We really appreciate your time.
You'll go from. Are you silver or are you gold? I can't tell on your play button.
Silver.
Is it silver? Gold.
Silver at the moment.
Silver.
Yeah. Still got a ways to go.
As soon as you get Ben on there. Yeah, when you get Ben, you'll go gold for sure.
He'll be getting a few gold, I reckon. Maybe the BAFTAs might pick one up there. I think if he's not at least nominated, I'll be shocked. Yeah.
Oh, I'll throw all of my toys out of the pram. Yeah.
Thank you, David. Can we where can the fans follow you? Twitter, Instagram?
Yes, you'll find me on Twitter and Instagram at David Menkin. And if you'd like Barnabas or any of the other characters that I've played, if you'd like them to abuse you in any kind of personal way, you can also find me on Cameo.
Yeah, I need to get one of Dag. Is that his name? From Assassin's Creed? Man, he was a CUN. He was a nasty man.
Have I ever told you about the time that
he was a nasty man, if I remember. Oh shit.
No, he was just he knew what he wanted, and he also had
don't tell me he was misunderstood. He was an asshole. Come on.
Did you give me the axe though, Dan? That's the question. Did you give me my axe? Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah. I gave you the noble ending.
Yeah. I got to go to Valhalla.